Hey guys, and welcome to the Working Money channel. So QT just ended yesterday, and this is the big catalyst, apparently. Tom Lee says the quiet part out loud, so he's just reiterated this again, guys, on CNBC. The Fed just stopped quantitative tightening, the biggest liquidity drain since 2022. We talked about this a little bit in this morning's video. If you guys didn't catch that, I'll link it up here in the top right-hand corner. Last time QE ended, markets ripped 17% in 3 weeks. So guys, are we going to see the market rip? This is the XRP 12-month chart. We talked about that this morning too. Going to throw that on the hourly. Currently, we've got an XRP trading just shy of $2.04. So we're finding a bottom here for the XRP price. Hopefully, we do see a bit of a rebound now, considering we're basing. We're finally basing down here and trying to come out of this level of support. And these tailwinds should be helping the market move forward. Listen to Tom Lee. Here's what he has to say about that.
I think the biggest tailwind that's going to emerge in the next couple of weeks is around the central bank. The Fed is set to cut in December, but also today is the day that quantitative tightening ends. You know, the Fed's been shrinking its balance sheet since April 2022. It's been a pretty big headwind for market liquidity. The last time we had an end to QT, quantitative tightening, was September 2019. And if you look back at that period, the markets really responded well. I think within 3 weeks rallied more than 17%. So I do think the timing of QT ending, which is now essentially QE starting, and the Fed, and at a time when November kind of was topsy-turvy, so I think people got cautious, but now have to performance chase, and then you have a really typically a seasonal tailwind. So I'm pretty bullish into December, even with maybe the first day being rocky.
And I mean, yeah, the first day has been rocky. Today is December the 2nd. If you guys are watching this video on the day that I'm releasing it, let's bring up the S&P 500 for a second and go back to September. Let's go back to September 2019, the last time the Fed stopped quantitative tightening and essentially ushered in quantitative easing. So that was before the beer flu. Let's bring it all the way back here. September. Here we are, September 2019. What we saw at that time, markets ripping, okay, what did he say, 17%? So September was in and around here. That was the end of October. And then boom, what we saw, 17, 18%, essentially. I guess it depends on where we start that. But if we started right at the beginning of September here, we saw markets going up, about 16, 17%, give or take. So that was the direct result of that. Of course, this big drawdown was the beer flu crisis. So not to say that we still might not drop in 2026, but we could get some temporary relief here, maybe getting crypto prices up even higher. And guys, if you want to hear more about how I'm treating this bull run, you can follow me at patreon.com/workingmoneychannel. I'm being transparent, opening up my portfolio, showing you guys where I'm selling my cryptocurrencies, where my price targets are, and where I'm going to be buying the dip as well. This is going to be an ongoing thing into 2026, and it is only $5 a month. You got to subscribe and stay subscribed to lock into that price. So will we see something like that on the Bitcoin chart, maybe a 17% rally this month? Hopefully we can get back up to, interesting how 17% brings us right back in here, right back in these levels before we saw that big decline for Bitcoin. And that would be in and around $102,000. So I would not be surprised in the least if we did see Bitcoin do this kind of a reversal thing. Imagine 17%. Those were the previous gains in 2019 into early 2020 before the beer flu just decimated markets. But guys, think about it. A Bitcoin back to $102,000. I think that would add some renewed confidence to the space. If XRP went up 17%, where would we see XRP? Not bad, in and around $2.38. I mean, it would be a start. I think we'd need some more significant catalysts to continue that type of momentum. Nevertheless, wanted to thank Crypto's Russ there for posting that. The other thing is Canary just issued a press release, guys, stating that their XRPC is larger than all other spot XRP ETFs combined. So Bank XRP retweeting out Nate Gerasi here, why first mover advantage can be so important in the ETF space. Canary just issued a press release stating that their ETF is larger than any other of the XRP ETFs combined. What we're seeing with XRPC is more than early adoption. It's validation of where investor demand is heading. And that's a clear signal that investors are choosing the XRPC as a preferred vehicle for exposure to one of the most foundational digital assets. So Steve McClurg from Canary Capital, he did come out saying this. Here are some statistics on that. So a digital asset-focused investment firm, they just announced that assets under management in Canary XRP is greater than all other U.S.-listed spot XRP ETFs combined, totaling more than $336 million in AUM since its launch. And it only did launch on the 26th. So that's a big deal for Canary. The other thing I wanted to mention, and if you guys didn't catch this morning's video, I do suggest you watch it. Just found this on the Vanguard official website, okay? This coming from XRP Arthur here. Multiple XRP ETFs. So we have Franklin, Canary, Rex Osprey, ProShares are now showing under non-Vanguard funds. So Vanguard wanted to be very, very clear that these are not their funds, okay? So XRPZ, look at that, non-Vanguard. It's a Franklin Templeton ETF. The XRPC, that's the Canary Capital one, non-Vanguard funds. We've got XRPI, which is, which one's this one? It doesn't have the name there. So it's the other one. So that's Canary, XRPI. It's just an XRP ETF. I don't know why it doesn't have the name. And then Rex Osprey, XRP ETF, non-Vanguard fund. So they want to be very, very clear that these are not their specific products. Of course, they have their reasons for that. Interesting to say the least, XRP ETF stuns issuers with high demand. So just more of the same here coming from XRP Crypto Wolf. As highlighted by Nick Gerasi, XRP posted the kind of numbers that leave no room for interpretation, prompting Canary Capital to release an update that usually remains private. XRPC has overtaken the combined size of every other US spot XRP ETF. Now, I wonder to myself why. I mean, first mover advantage. What I've noticed is that generally what investors will do is they'll take a look at the price of some of these ETFs. So let's just take a look. XRPZ. Let's just take a look. XRPZ. So as you guys can see, that's the Franklin Templeton XRP ETF. And depending on how much these are trading for, somebody will decide, especially if you're retail. You'll decide, okay, this one's going for $23.63. So you compare that to, Canary Capitals, which is XRPC, and you'll type in XRPC, Canary Capital, and this one is going for $21.45. I mean, some are going to be more expensive than others. What about XRPI? Let's take a look at that one. XRPI. Volatility shares. Okay, so that's volatility shares, and that one is trading at $11.72. So you can buy the same types of products, and you're going to be exposed to the same type of volatility. But I think a lot of the retail investors are probably going to gravitate towards the cheaper products just because you can buy more shares of them. But the volatility should remain the same. I think there's probably a downside to that. They're probably not as liquid. Nevertheless, I'm just spitballing here. Interesting to see that, Canary is coming out saying that they are the number one in the XRP ETF space. But of course, they do have the first mover advantage. McClurg did say, though, that this is validation for where investor demand is heading, and it shows where there is a gap. Investors did not spread capital across the lineup. They concentrated it on XRPC. I guess we'll have to continue to see how that performs in the future. More big news here, guys, for real-world assets. Open Eden just closed a major strategic round with Ripple, Lightspeed, Faction, and Falcon X Global. So here's what they just posted. Okay, we're proud to announce the completion of our latest strategic investment round from some of these companies here, including some other ones, guys. Open Eden getting some more funding, okay? Ripple being one of the biggest investors here. We've also got Falcon X, Faction, and Lightspeed, Anchorage Digital Ventures, Gate Ventures, Sigma Capital, Kea, Flowdesk, Selene, and P2 Ventures as well. So interesting. This successful strategic round follows our earlier fundraising with this company here, YZI Labs, I guess, in 2024, and will further expand Open Eden's end-to-end real-world asset tokenization as a service platform for issuing and managing regulated tokenized financial products. Together, the participating investors bring extensive market expertise and a network that will accelerate Open Eden's development of new tokenized funds and structured products. And guys, Open Eden is looking to expand their suite of tokenized products to include a tokenized fund providing exposure to short duration global high yield bond funds developed in collaboration with leading global digital asset managers, a multi-strategy yield token, interesting, tokenized structured products that bring traditional finance instruments on chain. So Open Eden will also expand USDO's integration into consumer and institutional payment networks and grow its multi-chain stablecoin framework and develop a cross-border stablecoin settlement network. So So interesting to say the least. Of course, they are being supported by some of the biggest players in the space. It is no surprise that we are seeing a big investment from Ripple here. They're trying to get all boats to rise. Of course, this is going to help Ripple's bottom line as well. And Redot is also integrating Ripple payments, guys. Send crypto, receive NGN in minutes, faster and cheaper than traditional remittances. And of course, it's supporting XRP, USDC, USDT, Bitcoin, Ethereum, and more. RLUSD support coming soon. So real utility for global workers and everyday payments. We've got the official Ripple release here, and I've got the Redot release, probably mirroring the Ripple release here. Redot Pay integrates Ripple payments to extend stablecoin reach and launch Send Crypto, Receive NGN. So Redot officially announced that they are now in a partnership with Ripple, a financial technology company that offers crypto solutions for businesses to extend their stablecoin payment capabilities. In tandem, Redot is launching their Send Crypto Receive NGN feature, that the expansion of multi-market payout through its integration with Ripple's cross-border payment solution. The new feature streamlines conversion from digital assets to NGN for verified users with local bank accounts, enabling faster and more affordable payouts. So I just had to ask, I wasn't sure if it was an acronym that I didn't understand, but it is the Nigerian Naira, apparently, the currency code for the Nigerian Naira, the official currency of Nigeria. So that is what they mean by NGN transfers. It's just a specific fiat currency. So cost-effective NGN payouts is a significant milestone. You got to remember, a lot of these fiat currencies from these African countries are not readily available to the world. The corridors are exotic and therefore not as liquid as, let's say, the US dollar or the pound or the yen or the euro. So Redot is building stablecoin-powered payments that make digital assets as easy to use as local currency, where users can send XRP or stablecoin securely and receive NGN within minutes. The integration of Ripple payments will expand Redot's global reach and better serve the evolving needs of their users, and will remain a focus on making digital finance accessible, secure, and efficient for everyone. And you can see, guys, they're not just sticking to fiat rails. They are able to settle in seconds using USDC, USDT, Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, TON, Tron, XRP, and BNB. In the future, Ripple's RLUSD will also be supported with Redot. So we're seeing a lot more of these exotic corridors becoming more liquid. Of course, this was Ripple's primary mandate in the beginning, but guys, they're becoming bigger and bigger. This is why the XRP boom has not arrived yet. Okay, so another theory here, courtesy of Stern Drew. Everyone is wondering why XRP has not gone vertical despite all the fundamentals lining up. You got to remember, we're still trading in a spec market, guys, and I keep trying to hit this point home. Speculative means following Bitcoin, but XRP booming or mooning or whatever means more fundamentals have to line up. Stern Drew says the U.S. ISM manufacturing PMI for November printed at 48.2, which is below expectations of 49. That means manufacturing activity is still contracting and the real economy has not turned upwards yet. So he is still talking about the speculative market and how Bitcoin is following the business cycle. A quick reminder of what ISM measures, okay? It is a monthly survey of more than 400 manufacturers asking whether conditions improved or deteriorated. Did new orders grow? Is production rising or slowing? Are firms hiring or cutting staff? Are supplier deliveries improving or getting worse? Are inventories building up or being reduced? All those answers become one score. So 50 and above means expansion. And below 50 means a slowdown. At 48.2, we are still clearly in a slowdown zone. And here is where it gets very relevant for XRP. In both previous cycles, major XRP acceleration only happened once ISM moved firmly above 55. So guys, check this out. I'm going to bring up this chart here. So above 55, that is when we started seeing XRP mooning in both cycles previous. XRP's major acceleration only happened above 55. As you guys can see, in 2017, we saw that rally. And in 2021, we saw the same thing. It did not ignite in economic weakness. They ignited when demand, hiring, and production all turned strongly. So are we going to see this turn to the upside? That is the same environment we're in right now. Right now, ISM is still far from the level, which explains why the full XRP boom has not materialized yet. But now look forward, okay? Expected rate cuts in 2026. So these are some of the factors that are going to help XRP move to the upside. Looser financial conditions, better liquidity across the financial market, policy shifts, and favor tokenization payments and settlement rails. These are the exact forces that historically push ISM back above 50 and then above 55, where XRP expansion really does take off. So why do these numbers matter today? We are still waiting for economic expansion, not the explosive boom yet. But guys, even if we just get a few more points to the upside, economic expansion, just a little bit more, once ISM begins trending up again and conditions that powered previous XRP cycles come back into play, combine that with Ripple Prime, global corridor expansion, APAC regulatory approvals, and the identity layer forming on the XRP ledger, and setup becomes far more powerful than any prior cycle. So what he's suggesting here is that, in the past, what we've seen, XRP moving up based on the number, based on typical factors that bring ISM number up. But guys, not only do we have that particular metric, what we also have is the potential for XRP to boom based on the real world utility, the setup, Ripple Prime, all these external factors that Ripple has been building over the last 4 years since the last cycle. And this is essentially going to help XRP rocket right out of here. That's just my opinion. But for more opinions on where I think the market's going to go, you guys can follow me at patreon.com/workingmoneychannel. How is 2026 going to shape up? So patreon.com/workingmoneychannel if you guys want to follow me there. And maybe you guys are interested in helping to support the channel by moseying on down to the Working Money Channel merch store. I got to say, every little bit counts, guys. And thanks so much to everybody who has helped support the channel by purchasing some Working Money Channel merch. Link is in the description of the video. That's just my opinion. I want to hear what you guys think. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Like the video if you like the content I'm providing. I always love hearing your comments. See you in the next one, guys.